do get by the frisky Pels, which is no guarantee, they'll head to Denver in a scenario that Nick once proclaimed was their best-case scenario. Now, they've lost 8 games in a row against Denver and 6 in a row since Darvin Ham inferred he had seen something in the fourth quarter of Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals and told the world, we'll be okay. Trust me. Six losses since then. Brew, what chances do the Lakers have to take out Denver?
0.
I mean, no chance other than never say never.
Oh, wow.
Anything is possible.
Yeah, I like this.
No, there's no, I mean, look, the greatness of LeBron and AD, I'm doing my all-NBA teams. They're both on the top 3, you know, second and third team all-NBA. I'll keep it a secret which one's second, which one's third. Okay. But there are great players, obviously. But there's really not much other than if you just say, you know, LeBron, this is maybe last hurrah, last best chance to win a championship or get there. He's going to take it over. But he played well last year, and they got swept. Yeah, and he had a LeBron game, and they couldn't. It still wasn't
Game
enough.
4.
Yeah,
Game 4.
And it wasn't enough. And so there's really no realistic, logical basketball reason to pick them. Here's why I disagree with your theory, Nick.
Yeah.
Because I get what you're saying.
Real fast, Nick's theory is that it's better for the Lakers to play the Nuggets early on because LeBron and AD, specifically LeBron, is older, and that by the time if they played them later on in the playoffs, that LeBron would be more worn down and wouldn't be able to compete, which is what I've been saying just for the playoff success for the LeBron and Lakers in general, but he's talking about specifically against the Denver Nuggets.
But I think the Nuggets have one weakness, and it's not their depth to me or lack of depth. It's the possibility
of Jamal
Murray getting hurt.
Okay, that's true.
No, because they cannot win the championship. They cannot win the West without Jamal Murray.
That's correct.
I mean, as great as Jokic is, Jamal Murray is critical. He always plays better in the playoffs, significantly better. And they must have it. And my thing is this, Nick, he's back, and he's been hot, 24 points a game and like 25 minutes a game since he came back from injury. Last 5 or 6 games, I think it's 5 games. He's shooting it like 47% from 3, well over 50 overall. And obviously we don't want to see anybody get hurt. But I think the chances,
it's on the table.
because he's not been able to make it through all the postseasons. And so if he were to get hurt, it's probably later in the playoffs versus right away. And that's why I don't agree with that.
No, so that, by the way, that is almost assuredly correct. I am operating from the unrealistic place, but the place that I think we almost always do these predictions of. Everyone's as healthy as they are right now.
Okay.
You know, and so that's
going to stay healthy.
He stays healthy. So you said there's no basketball reasons.
Well, he said it.
So no, and then
I was like, yeah, definitely.
Was an amen from the choir. So I would like to just posit a few questions.
Sure.
To Mr. Denver Nugget. I mean, 8 in
a row.
But you've been Mr. Denver Nugget all year.
Yeah.
On your lightly followed Twitter account, you have written dozens of times, no one's beating Denver in a 7-game series. Wilds. So I know you've been staying up late watching these games because you send that tweet the moment the game ends, and then I think you pass out immediately
Sometimes
after.
It's a bit of a burden.
Yeah, exactly. He just wants to send the tweet. If you were to rank Denver by how they've been playing by month, where do you think this last month of basketball is?
Well,
they had the one seed.
They won 4 of their last 5.
They had the 1 seed on the line against a Spurs team that was not even playing 2 of its 5 best players. They don't have a lot of great players. Well, they're up 17 in the fourth quarter, and they lost that game. In a game with real implications where the Nuggets are playing everyone.
Wembanyama.
Slight concern.
No,
go ahead.
Here's counterpoint.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Why?
You know what? I didn't like it. Oh. I loved it.
Oh, now we're why? Tell us.
It's
a wake-up call.
A little wake-up call.
Okay, maybe.
Mike Malone was like, guess what? We have to play defense, and we have to rebound. I think they gave up 8 offensive rebounds in the fourth quarter.
Which is funny because Nick has said similar things about the Chiefs losing, that it's the best thing that happened for them, that they lost to the Raiders Christmas Day and all of that type of stuff. So it's funny to see Nick now act like that's a bad thing or that it's not a wake-up call. But when it's for his team, it is a wake-up call. Pretty cool.
Like, guess what? Any team can beat you.
No,
a team with a star can come down and take over. And they took the foot off their gas, like, it's the Spurs.
No, and
they lost it. And I think it was kind of good.
And also, Nick, depending on how far you want to go back, last month, last 2 months, they have the best record in the league since the All-Star break.
Yeah.
Them and Boston, 21-6. And the games Murray's played, they're 16-3. That's a higher win percentage than even Boston, which has been running through the league. So they've been actually playing great basketball.
I agree with that. And the losses, you can be like, one was in overtime to Phoenix.
But this was a bad one.
But this was a bad one because what was on the line, which was the 1-2, which I think mattered to them. But I'm going to give you one other basketball reason, and this is why I think it is critical that if the Lakers have any chance of beating Denver, that it has to happen now. Brew, what did you call this series last year?
A close sweep.
A close sweep.
And it was.
So I don't know if
others call it a gentleman's sweep, even though it wasn't
gentleman's sweep is fine.
No, I know. They said because it was so close.
Okay, so here's.
I'm just like, they don't want to give me my props.
And you, I think correctly if I'm remembering right, identified when we were talking about the games last year that it appeared at the end of these games LeBron was out of gas, and the numbers support that.
Yep.
If we can show you LeBron last year, he's rolling. All systems go, quarters 1 through 3, and was spent quarters in fourth quarter.
Okay.
What's the other story of LeBron last season? His worst three-point shooting year in the regular season in 15 years, and in the playoffs, second worst of his career. If you remember, Wildes was saying, give him the Ben Simmons treatment.
Yeah, right. It was like 1 for 20.
Right. I'm not saying he's going to keep it up necessarily, but what's the story of LeBron this year? His best three-point shooting year. And I'm going to add one other point. Jamal Murray is a great postseason performer. We all know that. What he did in those conference finals, and we can show it to you, is aberrant even by his standards. Every other series of his career, he's awesome. 24, 5, and 6 on those splits. Last year...
So I want to point this out for a couple of reasons because this is what I've said before about how, winning a championship, what it takes, and how you need some of these random situations to happen. And that's why everyone wants to act like Jokic won without an all-star or a Hall of Famer, and they say Jamal Murray's not any of those things. But he clearly played like that. 32 points and 32.5 points per game. And he did some of this in huge moments, huge fourth quarter moments that he was knocking down shots that were absolutely why they won that series or the specific game, which is why Brew was saying it was a close sweep. And that was my always argument against, because everyone wants to act like Jokic just did this by himself with no one. So on that part, I agree with what Nick is saying, but I'm not using that same data or information as a way to justify that I think they won't be able to beat the Lakers now because of it. Because I still think, regardless of the fact, the Nuggets are a better team, and LeBron James, even though it's earlier on in the playoffs, will not be able to sustain come time the actual playoff time. And when you're actually truly playing hard, physical, grueling basketball. But this chart is exactly what I've been fighting with people in the comments, on Twitter, wherever, of saying, like, stop this nonsense that Jokic is doing this with no one, because everyone always wants to point out Embiid. Embiid has never had a guy like this who's putting up 32.5 points a game, 6 rebounds, over 5 assists, field goal percentage of 52%, 40% 3-point, 95 free throws. Embiid never had that, especially at an older, more mature age where Embiid is actually like, a grown man. Because even if you gave these numbers to Jokic back when he was like 23, it wouldn't have helped because it takes time for you to mature and get into your prime as an NBA player. So this is a great graphic, honestly, but not for the point. I get the point that Nick is trying to make, because he's trying to say, this is what it took for them to win last season. And this was, Jamal Murray for that series specifically was playing out of his mind. And if he didn't do that, if he just played average, then, what am I trying to say here? If he just did that, then they would have lost. But that's not the full story, because Jamal Murray is also the type of player that rises to the occasion. The other series did not need those performances from Jamal Murray. They didn't call for that. The Denver Nuggets kind of won handedly in a lot of ways. So Jamal Murray is definitely one of those players that truly rises to the occasion.
He had the best series of his career. So the point I'm making is this. LeBron, they were close, good games until the Lakers' best player wore down in the fourth quarter. I don't think he's as likely to wear down when it's not every other day like it is in the conference finals, and it's not after 2 rounds of playoffs, and he's not nursing a
bad foot,
whatever it was. He couldn't hit a 3, and Jamal Murray played the series of his life. Now, the counterpoint obviously is, yeah, and so maybe if that's right, it'll be 4-1 this time or 4-2 this time. I get that. But I think there are a lot of factors that...
It's a great counterpoint that he made to himself.
If this ends up being the matchup, you could see it go very similarly as last year. But if LeBron is just a touch fresher and Jamal Murray is just a touch less incandescent, those games turn.
Murray, though, has had a lot of great series. His numbers are down both regular season and playoffs because early in his career the numbers weren't as prolific. I'll give you this, though, as a support for what you said about LeBron. Because he's been cold this month from 3. I think he's like 31%, something like that lately.
Don't you?
Well, he's 41% for the season.
Right, but what you see is, and I think this is why he's shooting such a high percentage, and I think it's wise of LeBron, he is attacking the rim relentlessly. He's shooting like 3 3-pointers this month a game. That's low, and it was 4.5 the last month in March. So he's dialing down the 3-pointers and attacking the rim more, which is what I think he should do. And Denver doesn't shoot a lot of threes. They're actually last in the league in 3-point attempts. The Lakers are third to last. So the fact that if LeBron's not draining a ton of threes, that's okay because Denver's not going to be draining a ton of threes either, and he should keep attacking the rim.
Hey, Josh, you know what I'd like to do? Take Nick's graphic, and let's look at the Denver-LA splits. And I wonder if it's less just LeBron wearing down and more of the altitude. Ooh, that altitude.
It was
once you're in that thin mountain air.
But the other thing,
Denver, he had to play so well and hard to just keep them near the Nuggets. And the Nuggets are great fourth quarter team.
The one thing, and I'm not the injuries, it's part of sports, I get it. But the one place where LeBron's foot injury last playoffs really showed up is it seemed like he only had 3 or 4 hard drives to the basket in him a game until that game 4 against Denver when he just emptied the clip because it's probably the last game of the year. The last month, man, he is relentlessly. It feels like it's the healthiest he has been going into a postseason since the championship year. That's all I'm saying.
Even though I think the Pelicans are,
and it's still not good enough. That's ultimately the moral of the story, is that it's still not good enough. I'm sorry, Lakers fans. They're not going to beat the Nuggets. LeBron James is not going to beat the Nuggets outside of any injuries, which we've already established, and they have established that. We're making these predictions with the understanding that everyone's going to be all healthy and all of that. And I'm not so sure that that it's such a walk in the park for the Lakers to beat the Pelicans in the play-in tournament. I'm not necessarily betting against LeBron, but again, this is going to be one of those things where that'll be a hard-fought, game. And I'm on the fence what I want to see happen. Because if they lose, and there's a potential that they get to play the Warriors, which would be exciting. That would be a really fun, one and done, do or die game. But then the winner of that goes on to play OKC, which I think will still be a great series no matter who plays them. But it would be interesting to see the Lakers go up against the Denver Nuggets. I think that would be a fun kind of rematch series, but I'm just not seeing it. Regardless of all the things that Nick laid out, I understand what he's saying. Playoff basketball is different immediately. LeBron James and AD last playoffs were still struggling in that fourth quarter, and if they had a big game in game 1, they slowed down in game 2. So it's not just that there was extra cumulative fatigue by the time they played the Denver Nuggets. That's definitely, I'm sure, added onto it to a degree, but they were already having those issues. Now they're a year older, so they're going to continue to have those issues no matter where they end up playing the Nuggets. So those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. Any chance the Lakers can take out the Nuggets? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, and ultimately, let's just have some fun. I read every single comment. So let me hear what you have to say, and I'll get to it. And please don't forget to subscribe. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really, really does help with the visibility in the algorithm, and it helps combat all the trolls and the haters. Thank you so much, and see you next time.